Hey, Kevin Guthrie here. Welcome to our first Facebook Live joint working between myself here at Guthrie Therapy and Newark and Sherwood District Council. The first thing I need to know from you lovely people that are already watching is, can you hear me okay? Is the sound okay? Can you hear me okay? Please drop a comment into the box and let me know that everything is operating okay. Okay? I'm just going to give it just a couple of more seconds, let some more people join, and for someone to let me know that we have sound. Okay, there's a real lag between what I can see on the screen and actually what you're watching, so it'll take a few seconds for any comments to come through. What we're going to do tonight, we are going to look at winter wellness. This was a joint piece of work between myself and Newark and Sherwood District Council. I guess, thank you everybody. Thank you, I can see the comments coming through, that's brilliant. A joint piece of work between myself and Newark and Sherwood District Council. I guess I was a little bit concerned that we were just about to go into winter. You know, the weather gets colder, the nights get darker, and I was concerned that given the year we've had, I mean, winter's always a little bit more tough, yeah? But given the year we've had, that things might be just that little bit tougher. So I wanted to do something that would reach as many people as we could and give you really practical tips that you can take away. Talk about things that will help us through the winter and help us not just survive the winter, but actually thrive through the winter. Okay, so that was the purpose of these lives. If you could, what I'd really like you to do is share this stream. So what we do by that is at the bottom of your screen, there should be a little button that says share. As we share, it just reaches more people. The more people we can reach with this, the better it is, because it just means that more and more people are resourced into being well for winter. So let's begin. So what do I mean by, just pull that up, resource, reset and regulate? Why did I call it the Triple R sessions? I call it the Triple R sessions because resourcing for me is about the analogy that I want to use on this is, you know, when you go to make an apple pie, you need resources, don't you? So to make an apple pie, I think this is how you make an apple pie. You need pastry, you need apples, sugar to go into the apples, and in my apple pies I like cinnamon and raisins. So we call those resources, and together they make an apple pie. If we want to go into winter a little healthier and a little more well, then we need resources, and interestingly we don't often get taught what those resources are. So that's my job tonight and over the next 4 Wednesdays, is to give as many resources as I can to you, so as we can all go into winter that little bit healthier. Okay, if you have any questions, I would love to hear your questions. I want to make this as interactive as possible. I want you to be able to ask me what you need to know. A little bit about me, because I think that would help. I'm a psychotherapist. I work here in the lovely little market town of Newark, if you're in Newark. I have been working with people for about 20 years. Over the last 7 years, I've been in private practice as a psychotherapist. Like I said, I see between 20 and 25 people a week, and I adore what I do, but I adore what I do because I get to assist people and I get to, again, resource people into becoming healthier. Okay, so that's why I do the job I do. I also do it because for many years I struggled with my own mental health. I struggled with my own anxieties and worries and bouts of depression. And through my own journey, I decided that I wanted to be able to pass on the stuff that I had learned. So that's why I sit in this position. I'm not a doctor. What I deliver is both professional and personal, mostly personal, if I'm really honest, because the professional side of it, the academic side of it is great because it secures everything. But a lot of what I deliver is personal experience. And still is personal experience, still things that I learn every day with the people that I work with and also myself. Okay, Amanda Wilson's just saying, I love that. You've got an apple pie for tea. I'm very, very jealous. And hi, Mandy. Thank you for joining the feed. So remember, you can ask any questions you want. Please throw them out there, and I will do my best to answer questions you've got. And please share if you can. Over the next few weeks, tonight I want to look at anxiety and stress because it is obviously massive. Over the next few weeks, there's a whole list of subjects that I want to cover. Things like anxiety and stress, that's tonight, motivation, movement and sleep, gratitude, the words we use. You know, it's really important sometimes that we begin to recognize the smaller words that we use. See how I pause then and think about the words that I'm using right here, because this is live and I can't really take this back. I've got a question come through that I'm going to pick that one up in a minute. So the words that we use, self-respect and value, primal instincts. What are primal instincts all about, and how do they affect us every day? They affect us quite a lot. Resilience, connections, social media, kindness. Oh, have we been in short supply of kindness this year? Just a little bit. At points, people have gotten very edgy sometimes. You know, it has been a particularly tough year this year. And also, we'll look at black and white thinking. But tonight we're going to look at anxiety. I just want to pick this question up. So I'm worried about working from home during the winter months, stuck in the daylight and being alone, trying to organise a short walk at lunchtime with other local friends who are working from home. Do you have any ideas? You know, the idea that I would have given you immediately then would have been to organise something during the day. I guess one of the sweet spots about working from home, because I work from home, this is my working environment, and I sit here all day long. But I guess one of the sweet things about working from home, if there is any, and there are a few, I have to admit, is being able to get out during the day. We know that once we hit the kind of real winter months, that it'll be dark at 4 o'clock. There's no getting away from that. It will be dark at 4 o'clock. So, Emma, that is a brilliant idea. Get out during the day. Try and organise some sort of meet up with friends. And you know what? Even if you can't meet up with friends, put a podcast on. Apparently, there's some great podcasts over on Radio Newark from a local guy. I don't know who it is, but listen to a podcast. But one of my baseline criterias is that you are outside and walking for at least 30 minutes every day. That is my absolute baseline on that. Okay, so please, please, please get outside and get some daylight. The other thing I wanted to say about weather, and I was talking to a friend about this the other day, is, you know, we have this really unique way in the UK of thinking that as soon as we go into dark months, that the winter therefore is going to be, we are going to go into darkness for 4 or 5 months. And actually, you know what? It's not definitely, that's not always the case. If we look at today, and I know we're only in the beginning of October at the minute, but if I looked out today, the skies were beautiful. They were really, really bright blue skies. And I think sometimes we miss that. And I know sometimes for a lot of people, they can be stuck indoors all day doing the job and working. But if you can alter that, whereas you finish an hour earlier, but then get an hour during the day, then do that. And you know what? If you're working with employers, then I would ask you to ask them that question. Can I finish an hour later? If you can do this, if it works in with your schedule, but then have an hour's lunch where I can go for a walk somewhere. There's lots and lots of different ways of us handling this, okay? And at the minute, we are having to think outside the box because of many, many different reasons. Okay, this is not just COVID related. This is many different reasons that we're having to think on our feet a little bit, and we're having to think of new ways of managing our mental health and our wellness. Okay, I just want to say hello to Sue Hallam. Hi, Sue, a lovely, lovely lady, charity manager of SureMind. And Sue delivers a weekly walk and talk in Newark, and if you want to know more information about what Sue's doing there, the walk and talk that she delivers every week, then SureMind, I believe, have a website, so go across there. They also may have a Facebook page, definitely have an Instagram page because I've seen it. There will be details on there that you can find. So there are people there that you can walk and talk with if you choose to, if that if that's your thing and you want to be with other people, then do that. Okay, so there's definitely ways of being outside, but please, as a minimum, try and be outside for at least 20 to 30 minutes every day. Shift your working pattern, shift it so as you can get outside. Maybe go for a walk in the morning if you have time. And you know, I'm really aware that as I'm saying all this, that everybody has their own different constraints. We have children, we have people that we care for, we have jobs, we have all sorts of different things that we have to negotiate. But there are certain, it's almost like for me, there are a baseline to mental health and well-being, and one of those, in fact, my most important one, is to be outside nearly every day. My partner said to me, I think it was yesterday, my partner says, "Oh, come on, you need to be outside and walking, and you've been out inside all day." So it's really nice that somebody else was actually on that occasion watching out for me as well. So I did get out and I did have a walk, and I've done the same today. Get out and get some daylight. No, it's not as bright as it is during the summer, but we still get some really, really beautiful days. The other element to that about being outside is to make sure that when you do get a chance, maybe at a weekend or on your day off, that you do get outside and you have a longer walk for maybe an hour or two. The only thing that really stops me from walking is, and I'm resistant to say this, is rain. Sometimes rain stops me from walking. But I was stood at my window the other day. I was stood upstairs doing some mining, because yes, I do some mining, and I saw two people walk past, and they were all wrapped up, and they had cagoles on and everything. Didn't have a dog, which I thought that was brilliant. And I was like, oh my goodness, you're literally walking with purpose in the rain because you want to be outside. So I think that's amazing. I think that's absolutely fantastic that those two people that I saw had chosen to get outside even in the rain and do a walk. Get a big umbrella, get wrapped up. What is it they say? There's no such thing as bad weather, just bad choices of clothing. And I kind of agree with that. We cannot hunker down during our 4 or 5 months of darkness. We can't do it. It's just not good for us. Yeah, it's just not. We get this thing called SAD. I can't remember what the acronym. I can't remember what it stands for. Seasonal. Somebody's gonna write in and tell me what this stands for. Seasonal affective disorder, something like that. Anyway, it's about when we don't get enough sunshine. But I do insist that actually we get a lot of really, really sunny days. Okay, we just have to, if we can, take more advantage of them. Okay, so I wanted to go through. I can see there's little chats taking place over on the feed there. While he walks and talks on the best. I love that. I was just about to say I haven't got any wellies, but I have. I have got wellies. Yeah, get out in the mud and do that. What have we got there? Where do walks are the best? Sue, do you know of a similar walk and talk in Beeston? That's a question for you, Sue. Hannah Paul is asking Sue, can anyone come? I'm absolutely sure that they can. So I'm sure that anybody can do that walk and talk with Shore Mind. Right, what I want to show you, how I work a little bit and how the next 4 weeks will look. So if we see on the screen now, there is self in the middle, so that is us as humans. And then we have our 5 areas that make it a very holistic delivery. Okay, so we look for mental, which is I guess my strongest area, but also within that there's the physical, the spiritual, the emotional, and the social. These are all elements that make up our entire self. And during the next few weeks, I want to cover all of those areas, because actually when we look at becoming healthier, when we look at becoming healthier beings, and when we look at thriving through winter, actually we need to consider all of those areas there. So the mental, the physical, the spiritual, the emotional. Social is about meeting people. That's kind of where it gets a little bit difficult. And I'm sure you'll agree that this year has been more difficult because socially we have been constrained just a little bit. we have been able to be less social, particularly when we were in the midst of lockdown. And it was the one thing that, a lot of people really, really struggled with. I'm just going to quickly ask you all again, just if you can, just to share this feed and then get this feed out there to as many people as possible. Let's share it, share the love. So social is about being out with people. Remember that when we come to social, there is the face-to-face stuff. There's nothing nicer than feeling somebody else's energy, somebody else's presence. There's nothing nicer than that, honestly. It's perfect. It's perfect in so many ways. But as lockdown happened earlier on this year, and as now there are more constraints in place, that becomes more difficult. So I do ask that people still connect, even if it's via a screen. Please try and connect. It's really, really important for us. It's important for us that we are able to communicate somehow. It's important for us that we are able to be heard, and that we hear other people. And actually, I did a few Zoom kind of socials earlier on in March and April, and honestly, they did really help. They really helped me connect with people that I hadn't seen for a while, and we had a laugh, or we'd play a game, or we'd do something. But it just did really help. So don't dismiss that as an idea of connecting with people. At the moment, we're lucky enough that we can be out there, and even if it's a cold day, we can be out there and we can be walking, really, really wrapped up, and really just enjoying the fresh, crisp winter air as it is. So remember that part there. Spiritual becomes about beliefs, not necessarily religion, but it becomes about some of our beliefs and some of our values. Physical, really, really obvious. It's about how we treat ourselves physically. So that is about being outside and walking or running or swimming or going to the gym or whatever it is that you physically do. But our bodies need movement. Mind needs stillness. And if we get those two elements in one day, then we're on to a winner. So body movement of some sort, Pilates, yoga, running, going to the gym, going for a swim. Oh my God, there's 101 things that you can do, okay? But get it moving somehow. And I insist that even being out there and walking for 20 minutes is good. Do you know what I mean? That is movement. Even if it's 20 minutes, that is movement. So that's physical. And the other one is emotional. When we think about mental and emotional, you'd almost think that those two would be under the same banner. Not necessarily the case. Mental, of course, includes emotional, but emotional can be slightly separate in terms of, we experience something like 500 emotions a day. 500 emotions a day. When I say that, I just think it's like incredible. I'm like, wow, how do we ever experience that many? But when we think about experienced emotions, we have to think about some of the smaller ones. When we smell something, when we see something, when we sense something, when we hear something, with all of our faculties, we get a lot of emotions that take place. What we're not very good at is recognizing them. So over the next few weeks, again, I want to spend a little bit of time looking at how we engage with our emotions. Thanks, Sue. So Sue says seasonal affective disorder. So I was kind of right with that. I got it in the end. So they are the 5 areas that we are going to be looking at, because as a practitioner, I am very, very holistic. I'm not just about the mind. For me, that's just one area of this whole being that we are. For me, it's really important that we look at every part of us, okay? From what we eat, to what we drink, to what we watch on TV, to the people that we engage with, to the social media that we do. Every part of it, okay, is really, really important. So I want to cover all of those because I'm passionate about this, and I want to give you the best possible chance to be as healthy and thrive through winter as possible. Okay, I am just going to pick up my phone very quickly, and I'm going to share this feed, because then we can get more people watching. So shared. That was quick. The other thing I want to look at is, so today's or this evening's session is on anxiety. Why anxiety? Because it's massive. At the minute, it's absolutely huge. There's a lot of people experiencing anxiety. It is higher. It feels like before March, we were experiencing more and more anxiety. But now it feels like because of the big C word, anxiety is around more and more. And I'm not convinced that we know enough about it. I'm not convinced that the general public know enough about it. So I wanted to look at anxiety and stress deeper during the session and give it an understanding. So with anxiety, you might think that anxiety was more. You know, when we looked at the where's it gone? The plan. There it is. When we looked at this plan earlier, you might consider that anxiety would sit across that mental area right there, but actually not. If we look at, where's it gone? There it is. If we look at this one here, anxiety goes across all of them. Anxiety affects every part of that, and everything we do in our world can affect anxiety. So, for example, our social activities, as I said, being around the wrong people, being around people that aren't healthy for us. Physical, are we doing enough exercise? Spiritual, all of those areas there affect our anxiety. So actually, this cuts across everything. So I want to talk a little bit about anxiety and what it is. What do I want to say about anxiety? The first thing I want to say about anxiety is we all have it. It is something that belongs to us all. It is part of our primal system. So it's part of the system that keeps us safe. Yeah. So we kind of need anxiety, because if we didn't have anxiety, then we might get ourselves into all sorts of trouble. So anxiety is really, really important. At the moment, because we have been threatened by an outside source, by the virus, then our anxiety is peaked. So I want to tell you about a really cool little book that I haven't read. I can be honest, but I did read the synopsis of it, and the idea of it was brilliant, and I loved it. And the book is called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Now, the reason zebras don't get ulcers is because although they have the same fight or flight system we have, and it's exactly the same system that we have, they don't have this thinking machine here, this rather complicated, deep-rooted thinking system. So when a zebra gets threatened, it senses the threat, their fight or flight system is activated, blood rushes from the intestines, because it doesn't need to digest at that point, to the limbs and gets it ready for run. Adrenaline is released, and we get ready to go. When their threat is gone for a zebra, the threat stops, and this system returns to normal. Probably within an hour, it returns to normal. Could even be quicker than that. As humans, as rather sophisticated, clever, we think humans have developed a system where we are activated, but then we don't reset. And that's the other. So when we talk about the Triple R sessions, it was resource reset and regulate. That's where the reset comes in, because we don't reset. We sense the threat from outside, and then we don't, and then we live with it. And what's really interesting about the current situation is we've been in this now for so long that I think people are really struggling to reset, and maybe we're waiting for a point that they could reset. It's like, when can I do it? Maybe I can do it next month. Maybe I could do it in July or August or September, October. And now all of a sudden we're probably looking into next year. And what I want for people because I don't want people living with anxiety. I don't want people living with this dreadful, dreadful feeling of fear all the time and panic and high anxiety. I don't want that. I want people to be more peaceful, even in the current climate. And I promise you, you can be more peaceful even in the current climate. It is absolutely our right to be more peaceful. Okay, and that's what I want. So part of the work that we're going to do in these sessions over the next 4 weeks is about resetting. Is about being able to recognize where our anxiety is at and then to be able to reset. Okay. So we all have anxiety, we all have levels of anxiety, but it is very, very peaked at the moment. All animals have it. We are part animal, but like I say, we very often get stuck in our heads. Is this a good time to talk about heart math? Yeah, I think so. I'm going to talk to you briefly about heart math, and I might talk about it again in a couple of weeks' time. So heart math is the connection between the heart and the head. This is such a such a unique piece of learning for me that I learned a while ago, and as soon as I learned it, everything made sense to me. So the heart and the head are connected. Okay, they send signals to each other back and forwards. The heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain does to the heart, but they are very connected. We now realize that there is 3 thinking machines in the body, and that is the head, the heart, and the stomach. Each of those areas has the ability to think of its own accord. So the stomach, for example, we might, when you feel butterflies? We feel butterflies, we feel nervous, we feel excited, we feel all of that in the stomach and we can feel it. That's the stomach telling us that we're feeling something. But actually the heart has the same ability, has something like 40,000 neurons in there that has the ability to sense and to feel. And particularly when we're doing something that we really like and that makes us really, really happy. Whenever I'm working with somebody direct with anxiety, and believe me, that happens a lot, one of the things that I do is I talk to them about heart math, and I try to encourage them to do things that they enjoy. So things that make their heart sing a little bit. I used to refer to it as feeding the soul. What feeds your soul? What makes you happy? What makes your heart sing? And when we think about that, we think about very simply things like, for me, it's about being outside. It is definitely about being outside and being in the fresh air. And you know what? Even if it's nighttime, I can still walk out. I can walk out at, I think it's dark out there now. I can still walk out at night and just feel the fresh air on my cheeks and go, it's okay. It's okay. I'm still breathing. It's all good. And so when we think about heart math and making this a little bit happier, I want you to consider what makes your heart sing. And this is an exercise that I do when I'm working with different companies, different businesses, and individual people. An exercise that I do is what's my oxygen? You know, when a lot of people that know me will have heard this time and time again. You know, when you're on an aeroplane and they give that little announcement at the beginning. They say, if your oxygen mask falls, please take your own oxygen first before you pass it on to somebody else. Why do you think they say that? They say that because if we don't take our own oxygen, then we're going to pass out and we won't be there for other people, for the person sat next door to us, for the young person or the elderly person sat next door to us. And you know what? It's the same in life. It's the same that if we don't take our own oxygen, however that happens, then it's really hard for us to be there for other people. I'm in a position, I'm in a bit of a unique position where taking my own oxygen is vital. Not just vital for me, but vital for everybody that I work for. Because if I don't take my own oxygen, then I can't be there for them. And the other part of that is I want to lead by example. I do want to be there for other people, and I want to be the best version of myself that I can in terms of being there for other people. So for me, little bits of my oxygen are being outside, walking outside, getting some fresh air, Another one is, and I can only do this on really on a monthly basis, is walking on a beach. Love to walk on a beach. Doesn't matter how cold or windy it is, walking on a beach, oh my goodness, it's amazing. So walking on a beach, what else might it be? Oh, going and having coffee and cake somewhere. Little things like that. I was away last week and I was in a little coffee shop somewhere and they sold, see how it makes me smile. And this little coffee shop sold cheese scones with onion chutney and cheese. And it literally made me smile. And as long as I'm not doing that every day, eating cheese scones with cheese and chutney, then that's absolutely fine. But it was a treat. It was my little treat. And literally it just really made me smile. Maybe pop into the comments now what makes you smile. What would be your oxygen? Let's have some examples of what might be your oxygen. Let's share those ideas. And also again, let's share the feed if you haven't already shared the feed, because it's just sharing the feed is not about getting me out there, it's about getting this information out there. Okay, it's about getting it out there as far as we can. So anxiety, back to anxiety. Anxiety is tempered once we start feeding this. Anxiety is also tempered once we do things like deep breathing, which I'm going to show you at the end of this feed. In probably about 10-15 minutes time, we're going to do some deep breathing, and I want you to take that practice away with you and use it every day. So deep breathing, doing things that you enjoy, staying away from too much caffeine. And I'm sorry if you really, really love coffee. I like coffee. I love a coffee, but I can't have too much coffee because it just makes me buzz. And if it makes me buzz, then I have less control over my mind. And if I have less control over my mind, then I have less control over my emotions. And I want to be able to control my emotions and feel the peace that I have developed. We've got a couple of answers there. Oh, sunsets. Julie, sunsets. Oh my goodness, I love a sunset. They really, really make my heart sing. And I know with it, sometimes we don't live in a place that we see a lot of them, but sunsets, beautiful. Cuddles with the cats. Oh, I love that. Although they do make me sneeze. So maybe cuddles with my dogs would be more appropriate. Pilates and dancing. We don't dance enough. I was thinking about this the other day. We literally do not dance enough. Why aren't we dancing? Why do we not dance more? And I know that we can't, but even before March, I was curious as to why there aren't more dancers, traditional dancers. You know, dancers where you dance with a partner or you do I don't know, just more dancing because it's so good for us. What else do we have? Walking amongst the autumn colours. Oh, autumn colours. They're amazing. And cake. I have to admit, I do love a nice cake. Has to be homemade though. I'm not keen on processed cakes. I want a cake that is homemade. So all of those things help lift us here. And if we are lifted here, here's what happens. Physiologically, here's what happens. The heart sends messages to the brain that everything's okay. And the anxiety that we are experiencing up here begins to drop. It just begins to reduce. But we have to keep this going. And we have to keep it going. And the more messages that get sent up to the brain, the calmer the brain will become. They're the absolute basics of heart math. That is how heart math works. Feed this, make this happy with whatever it is that you want. And then from here to here, you get a signal sent upwards because this is feeling anxious because of the threat out there. And then all of a sudden we begin to start to feel calmer. Okay. So that's one way of dealing with anxiety. Things like deep breathing, Pilates, yoga. So a really lovely technique called the butterfly hug. I'm going to show you that probably next week. In a few minutes, I want to show you the deep breathing because that's really important. Somebody's written in there a good box set. Sons, football, and reading. I was talking with Helen last week, and I let go of a secret of something that I'd been watching on TV that was really light and fluffy, but it allowed my mind to drop. There's some amazing dramas on TV. So there's some brilliant things. We're watching something at the minute called Life, and it's brilliant, and the acting's amazing. But it can be a little bit like Trigger City. It just triggers you in different ways. Whereas the box set that I'm not going to tell you about, that I was watching a few weeks ago, didn't trigger anything. It was just nice to watch. It was just nice. And it wasn't the dating program that takes place on the beach. What do we have there? So we have night walking because, oh wow, because I can see the stars. Crashing waves, love crashing waves. In the garden on a winter day with a hot chocolate, how lovely. Sitting in my garden room and being still and quiet, laughing till I cry, and music. Again, firstly, they're amazing. And secondly, music. Do we listen to enough music? One of the other ways that we don't get triggered into anxiety is by not listening to the news and not listening to the radio. And I've said this 100 times. Sorry, I'm laughing at something Helen said. Yeah, it's your fault. I started watching that, Kev. Watched it, all 3 series. But it was full of sunshine. Yeah, Helen? Full of sunshine. Maybe one day I'll tell you what it was I was watching. If I dare to do that and dare be discredited. All of those things Mandy said then about being outside with a hot chocolate. How amazing is that? Being outside with a hat on and a big scarf on and walking. As I said earlier, it's not about being outside and being cold. It's about being outside and wrapped up, because then it just feels wonderful. And for me, it's about feeling the air against my cheeks and knowing that I'm alive and that I've been honoured. I've been honoured with another day. I've been honoured to, when I wake up breathing in the morning, I'm like, yay, I'm alive. And we can laugh at that, but who gives me the right to say that I should be alive every day? Nobody. So if I wake up breathing, I'm really grateful for that. We're going to look at gratitude on another week. Back to anxiety. Still laughing at Alan. Back to anxiety. We have it because it keeps us safe. But here's the thing. Important message. If anxiety got its way, then we would be sat in a darkened room in the corner rocking. We wouldn't be going anywhere. We wouldn't be doing anything. We would just be sat there, absolutely scared. If anxiety got its way, we don't want that. We want to be able to live our lives, but live our lives in as safe a way as we can. If you have really, really high anxiety, then I'm not suggesting that you go and jump out of an airplane just to tackle it. We build it up slowly, and we slowly do things. If you've been highly affected by COVID and you're struggling to get out, for example, then maybe you walk around the block first. And then maybe you walk around the block 2 times. Then maybe you go to the local shop where you know it's going to be safe. Build it up. I can't think of the name of this at the minute, but it's a little bit like aversion therapy. If we build stuff up like that, and if we keep pushing it very gently and enough that it doesn't trigger us massively, then we begin to reprogram our mind into being okay. Okay? We have all this year, nearly every one of us, me included, been affected by what has happened. I can honestly say, Sue Helen, warm cheese scones served at Leicester Scape. Sue, that needs to be served with cream cheese and a little bit of ham, or chutney and cheese. Just saying. Cheese scones have to be served. They're definitely served warm. That's really important. But served with a little bit of chutney and cheese, or cream cheese and ham. Just saying. Somebody could serve that to me. I'd be eternally grateful. If anxiety gets its way, then we definitely we sat in the corner of a room rocking, and we don't want that. We want to be able to live our lives the best we possibly can. Okay, we don't know how long we're here for. We have no idea how long we have on this beautiful, amazing earth of ours. But actually, if we can get past that anxiety, then we can begin to enjoy the world around us just that little bit more, even in its current crisis. Even in its current crisis, can we begin to enjoy it just a little bit more? I said earlier that I would talk a little bit about Actually, I've not finished on anxiety. Really quickly on anxiety, how does it feel? Feels many different ways. For me, when I used to get really, really highly anxious, my mouth used to go really dry. There was nothing that would quench my thirst, nothing at all. And actually I didn't realize it at the time because nothing else was happening physiologically in my body. It was just a really, really dry mouth. So that is one of my signs now that I'm getting a little bit anxious. Some people get sweaty palms. Some people can feel their heart racing. There's all sorts of different triggers for anxiety. So don't just expect the obvious ones. Look for the unusual ones as well. That's how anxiety can feel. We know it's a warning system. We know it keeps us alive, and we know its purpose. But it gets stuck. It gets stuck as we get stuck here. Okay, so remember heart math, get outside, fill in the heart with joy a little bit, and then using some of those practices like yoga, deep breathing, which we're going to go through, Pilates, anything that stills the mind. Important to remember that the body needs movement, the mind needs stillness. And I do that with my hands because that's like a really anxious mind, and it's like this, which is where a lot of people have been for a lot of this year. And actually what we want is this, because this brings us peace. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about vitamin D. So vitamin D, I talk about vitamin D a lot because for me it's a little bit like a wonder vitamin that I believe that everybody should take at this time of year. Everybody should be taking vitamin D at this time of year. Check it out with your doctor, check it out with any other conditions you have, but it is such a powerful little vitamin. As we go into the winter months, not so much now because we are just into kind of autumn, but particularly when we get into November and December, we're short on vitamin D, and we're short on that little piece of sunshine. I've got a picture here that I just want to share with you, which shows some of the benefits of vitamin D. So this is what happens if there is serious vitamin D deficiency. One of these or all of these. So things like sleep changes, fatigue, low mood, back pain, loss of appetite, weak and aching bones, muscle strength weakens, frequent coughs and colds, obviously, infections on the chest, pale skin, and dark circles around the eye. Sounds just a little bit like me. Just consider all of those things as we move forward. Are you experiencing any of those? Might not do now, but going into the further into the winter, then you might experience it just that little bit more. Okay, so just have a think about some of those things and think about giving yourself that little supplement. It's so simple. Just a little vitamin D tablet. You can get it in drop form, tablet form, capsule form, effervescent form. There's loads of different ways of taking it, but please try to consider it because it really is. I remember starting taking it about 3 years ago, and it just felt amazing. It was literally like somebody giving me a blood transplant, and I was up and I was perking and all of the rest of it. So vitamin D, just have a good think about that. Okay. What do we have next? I want to talk to you about breath or breathing. So we breathe every day. We know we breathe every day. We just do it. But interestingly, we breathe very shallow, so we kind of breathe from here, just up and down. Okay, and what we really want to do is we want to take the breath deeper into the system, but we breathe very short as well. They're very, very short breaths. So when we deep breathe, it's entirely different. And when we deep breathe, I ask people to. This is where Emma's put. Emma has an oral vitamin D spray, which is good. I used to have the drops, and actually I used to find the drops used to play with my throat a little bit, not in a nice way. So maybe the spray might be quite good. I'm taking tablets at the moment. But there's loads of different ways of taking vitamin D. So deep breathing. I ask people to do 2 minutes deep breathing every hour. And I hear you all scream at me, we haven't got a 2 minutes every hour. Yes, you have. You absolutely, absolutely have. Whilst you're stood waiting for the kettle to boil, whilst you're sat on the toilet, whilst you're stood in the shower, wake up in the morning, swing your legs around the bed, put your feet on the floor, and take some really, really deep breaths. As deep as you possibly can. Stand up, go in the shower, take some more deep breaths. Walk downstairs, put the kettle on, take some more deep breaths. I promise you, what happens in your mind is it resets. And as we deep breathe and we take our mind from this, or our nervous system from this to this, and we keep going, our mind becomes stiller and stiller and stiller and calmer and calmer. Now, when we look at deep breathing, there is 100 different ways of doing this, and there's some really clever techniques out there that bring about all sorts of physiological changes in the body. But what I want to teach you is just something really simple, because for me, simplicity is absolute key. When we deep breathe, we go in through the nose, we hold, and then we breathe back out through the mouth. If you want to keep it really simple, then go as deep as you can through the nose, hold just for a few seconds, and then breathe back out. Breathe back out through the mouth. And we do that for about 4 or 5 rounds. That's all. It'll take about 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes. And all of a sudden in the mind kind of goes like this. And it just drops into this much, much calmer place. Okay? If you want to complicate it, then you can do a count. So you can go in for 4, you can hold for 4, and then breathe back out for 4, if you want to complicate it. But honestly, just keep it simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. It's just deep breaths. There's a really brilliant one that I might show you in a few weeks' time. But it is really complicated. It was not really complicated. It's a count of, oh my goodness, I've forgotten the count. Oh, it's 4-7-8. So breathe in for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. It gets a little bit more complex, and I would not recommend that you do that stood up for the first time, because you might fall over. Remember that we've only got a few minutes left. If you have any questions, please put the questions in there and let me try and answer anything that you have. So that's deep breathing, but 2 minutes every hour. You have the time to do that. Here's my stance on mental health and well-being. My stance is that we have the power to do anything that we want to change the way that we feel. Every day we are faced with choices over what we do, whether I have another coffee, whether I watch a high anxiety program, whether I book another client in and make myself too busy, or whether I give myself time to breathe. Choices. Every day is full of choices, and it's about recognizing those choices and making them work for us. Okay, there's a little card I'll share with you, and I think I'll share it with you next week now. And it's two little words, 2 little cute words that I use all the time: healthy and helpful. And I will share those with you. But meanwhile, install those 2 words into your head: healthy and helpful, and ask yourself, whatever it is you're doing, is it healthy or helpful? So somebody just asked, how do you deal with anxiety at night, which stops us sleeping? Great question, and it happens quite a lot. So for me, that's about, again, it's about deep breathing. So anxiety for me is built up throughout the day. I once did a podcast on sleeping, and I remember thinking, how do we get a good night's sleep, which is here? So this is nighttime. And I remember thinking, actually, for me, a good night's sleep starts here the moment I wake up. So do I choose how much caffeine I'm going to drink? Or am I going to stop drinking caffeine at 1 o'clock, for example? How many sets of deep breathing am I going to do throughout the day? Who am I going to engage with? Am I watching high anxiety TV? How much time do I spend on my phone? In an evening, set yourself a little routine of phone goes down at 8 o'clock and you don't pick it back up, because that digital stimulus will just aggravate the brain. Imagine anxiety as Imagine anxiety as an energy, a little energy, a little. I sometimes say it's like a little gremlin that sits about here and it's like, this just needs feeding, just needs feeding. And if I'm on my phone, then I'm feeding my anxiety. If I'm watching high anxiety TV, so like high chasing dramas, then I'm watching that as well. Set yourself a little routine that when you go to bed, you can then, you're already halfway there by the time you get into bed. Directly before you go to bed. Or the other thing is to dim the lighting about an hour before bed. So make sure that you're in lower lighting, because again, bright lights will just stimulate. Lower lighting an hour before. Slow your day down, and then what we do is we go to bed. We sit on the edge of the bed and we do some really, really, really deep breaths. Right, really deep breaths. Then we lie down and we do some more deep breaths. And if you don't go to sleep within 5 or 10 minutes, then do some more deep breaths. If you go to sleep and wake back up, here's the difficult the difficult part on this. When we deep breathe, now when we wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes we're slumbering and we're fast asleep, and then all of a sudden we wake up and we kind of like wake up, and then all of a sudden these thoughts start chasing. Yeah, get it? Back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. Try not to engage. Remember, thoughts are things that just pass across the mind, but we don't engage with that because we don't need to engage with that. The first thing you do, the first place you turn to is we turn to deep breathing. Lying in bed, really, really deep breaths. Really, really deep breaths. And if you don't slip back under to sleep, then do more deep breaths. Honestly, I cannot, and I will talk about this a lot, so I'm sorry if it annoys you. I cannot tell you how important it is to do this deep breathing. It is so, so powerful. You know, some people say, get up, go for a walk, do this, do that, and I'm not overly keen on that. I'm not entirely convinced that that's worked. For me, it's about staying in bed and doing some really, really deep breathing. But remembering the day that followed that, because that's really important. Remember that all of that day leads to a good night's sleep. Everything you do. So I don't know, let's say you get in at 5, 6 o'clock and you are annoyed because you've had a rough day at work, the boss has been horrible, or you've had some horrible emails. Reset. Make the choice to walk in and reset, go and do some deep breathing. I was working with somebody the other week, and actually she recognised that if she had a really rough day at work, then she would walk in and say to her partner, just going to meditate for 5-10 minutes. I'm just going to do this because it really helps. And then all of a sudden their evening is entirely different because she spent 5 minutes, that's all, resetting. And sometimes that's all it takes. And if we do deep breathing for like 2 or 3 minutes, it only takes 2 or 3 minutes. So anxiety at night, it starts all day with the caffeine you drink, with the food that you eat, with the TV you watch, with the social media that you engage with, and the deep breathing that you choose to engage with. Okay, try and do as much deep breathing as you can. And just put deep breathing works for me. Good to hear it. It is amazing. I think sometimes people think with deep breathing that because it's so simple that it can't possibly work. How could deep breathing work? That's ridiculous. It's so simple, but actually it resets the body. It entirely resets the body. So please, what I say to people is test it. If you don't believe me, then test it. And just put reflection of the day also puts things into perspective. That's a great idea. So if something is bothering you, take to a piece of paper. I write in the middle of the piece of paper what's bothering me, what's the present an emotion, and then I spidergram it and I work out what's happening. I work out just what's happening, and then all of a sudden all of this stuff here is downloaded onto a piece of paper. Or the other thing to do with a piece of paper is just write, and just let it, and just download onto a piece of paper. Okay? Mine is pert. I will consciously do this waking up. Waking up is my issue at the moment. Good tips. I need to refocus on. Waking up is one of the hardest because as we wake up, we almost automatically go to that place of, and we start thinking. Don't honestly, as quickly as you can. This is where awareness comes in. I'll explain what I mean by awareness on another week. Don't engage. We need awareness to kind of go deep breathe, deep breathe, deep breathe, and just go straight into the deep breathing as quickly as you can. Yeah, just please, as quickly as you can, go into it, but don't start thinking. Don't, because you might wake up, and it's what happens is the mind kind of goes into that place of, I just sent that email, and it wakes us up, and we all of a sudden we're engaged, and we go, I just sent that email. It doesn't matter. If you're not sent it at 2:00 in the morning, it doesn't matter that you send it then. Send it when you wake up. Honestly, they'll be fine. They'll be absolutely fine. You don't need to do that. That's it. We are almost at our hour. I didn't honestly think that I would go for that long, but thank you for being with me. And thank you for your questions and your comments, and that has been brilliant. We will be back. I say we, I mean me. I will be back, supported by New York and Sherwood District Council. I will be back next Wednesday at 7:00 with a whole new list of different things that will help us go into the winter a little bit more resourced, because that's what I want. I want us resourced and thriving through winter. All of a sudden being in the UK and being able to enjoy our beautiful, beautiful winters that we have here. Okay. Next Wednesday, 7:00. If you've got any more questions, please use this feed to put the questions in, and I will try my best to answer over the next 24 hours. Please let people know if you've really enjoyed this and tell them that it's happening again next week. This is a resource put out with myself and New York and Sherwood District Council. We all want you to have a healthier winter this year. Given the year that we've had in particular, we want you to have a healthier winter. Okay, I am going to go and I'm going to make myself some tea. Okay, so take care, be kind to each other, and I will speak to you soon. Bye bye.